It just introduces a little bit of variety, because as we've said before, we need variety. If the brain is always doing the same thing, the brain loses interest. So it's kind of almost like contradictory. The brain needs repetition, but if it gets too much repetition, it loses interest. The brain also requires novelty, variety. Hi, Shelby.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
So, comment ça va? Ça va bien, merci. Et toi?
Ça va très bien, merci.
Très bien. OK. Bon, aujourd'hui, on va parler du vocabulaire et la révision de notre vocabulaire. So we're going to talk about vocabulary and reviewing our vocabulary.
D'accord.
Because, d'accord?
D'accord.
OK, très bien. Bon, let me just first chat a bit about vocabulary, because it's something that comes up all the time. How do we review vocabulary? First of all, people say, how can you talk about listening and reading when you know nothing? So obviously that comes up all the time. How can I listen and read? I don't know anything. That's true. So at the beginning, you know nothing. So no matter what you use, it's not comprehensible input. That's why you get on LingQ and you look words up. And you look words up and they go into your database. And so you now have these words starting to accumulate in your database. You've looked them up for the meaning. It doesn't mean you know them. It just means that you've met them before. And when you've met them before, they're no longer blue, they're yellow. Mm-hmm. And it just, as if by magic, by continuing to listen and read and occasionally review your words or phrases, the language starts to stick. So that's the first issue. Yes, at first you know nothing, and slowly the brain starts to get used to the language. Mm-hmm. Then the second issue is, what about all these flashcards? Like, how often should I flashcard? How do I flashcard? How do I review the words? How much time do I spend reviewing versus reading? This kind of stuff comes up all the time.
Yeah.
My view is it depends on what you like to do. Okay, I haven't seen any proof that, religious, whatever they call it, spaced repetition. There are people who swear by it, but I don't use it. I think it's largely a matter of what you like to do. And to me, I can only talk about what I like to do. To me, reviewing the words or phrases that I've saved is just another form of exposure to the language. Mm-hmm. It's another form of input. I don't like to rack my brain trying to remember things. I like to see a list or flashcards. I just have all the information on the front of the flashcard. It just introduces a little bit of variety, because as we've said before, we need variety. If the brain is always doing the same thing, the brain loses interest. So it's kind of almost like contradictory. The brain needs repetition, but if it gets too much repetition, it loses interest. The brain also requires novelty, variety. So before LingQ, if I studied a language, I would buy 3 starter books. I would buy Teach Yourself, Colloquial, Living Language, whatever. Cover the same beginner material in 3 different books. So in a way, it's all the early beginner stuff, but in fact, it's 3 different books. So you introduce variety. So when you are reading a text and you've got your links in yellow and stuff, you are in fact reviewing your links. However, reviewing them in another format introduces a variety, like a different way of reviewing those words.
Yeah.
So when we go to sharing your screen, I'll show you some of the things that I do. But let me first ask you, to what extent have you been using the flashcards?
Yeah, great question. I've been experimenting. So I'm trying to use LingQ on my phone more. I tend to use it on my computer for pretty much everything except for, like reading a new lesson for the first time. Or I'm sorry, in reverse. I mean, that's what I mainly use my computer for. And then, reviewing, like just reading. I like to read a lot on my computer and then like import a new YouTube video or something. I usually start from my computer. And then I listen to the playlist on my phone. So I'm trying now to do like my daily links review on my phone exclusively. And yeah, I have a lot of links right now because I cannot get enough of, I'm certainly introducing new content probably a little bit faster than what is recommendable. So I have a really, really long list, and I'm thinking now I should probably start using the tags more. I don't tend to categorize. Well, I mean, the tags will appear on my words automatically for the most part, and I don't usually edit those very much. So I think I want to do that to organize them, because I just have such a long list. But when I'm in a new lesson, like the mini stories, when I read a new one, I'll tend to do what I think you recommended once, which is to just hit the review button as I page. And I'm liking that because, like with what you're saying, you know, that you need the repetition and the novelty. I think it's the same concept with why you like to shuffle the playlist, you know, because if you get used to the pattern and seeing something only in this specific context or in this specific order, the brain gets desensitized to that, right? And it's like remembering the pattern rather than actually, you know, the meaning of each word. That's how I'm perceiving it for me. So that's why I'm trying to mix up different ways of doing my vocab review. But I have so many links that I can't possibly review them all. So maybe I should slow down a little bit.
Well, I don't think you should. Like, I think it depends on what people like to do. If you are enjoying the content that you're bringing in,
I am.
You're in the zone.
Yeah.
Why would you worry about it?
It is fun.
I have in Arabic, I've got, I don't know, 40,000 saved.
Wow.
Links. I know very few of them. It doesn't bother me. I don't spend a lot of time reviewing them because, again, you have only so much time to spend. So I think as long as you're spending time with the language, listening, reading, reviewing, whatever you're doing, you're spending time with the language. If you're doing it enjoyably and if you enjoy what you're doing, that's good. And I don't think there's any advantage in saying, gee, I think I should review all my links, because your brain will go numb after about 15 minutes of trying to review all these links you've saved. That's been my experience.
I spent about an hour the other night reviewing maybe like the first, like ABC, the links to be with ABC the other night.
I mean, it's okay to do, but and then you'll stop at C, and then when you go back in, you'll start at A again, because it's hard to find where you were the last time. And there's nothing wrong with doing it, but I think you're kidding yourself if you think you're socking those things into memory. And even with the spaced repetition system, I think no matter what you learn, you're gonna forget it if you don't see it again in context, whatever. So I don't worry about nailing things down. But let's have a look. Why don't we share your screen and have a look at the different things that there are. And unfortunately, we're only going to be sharing the computer way of using this, and it works a little different on the mobile apps. And maybe sometime we can connect an iPad or something, or an iPhone, and look at it on the app. But for today, we're just going to share your screen on your computer, and I'll show you some of the things that I do in reviewing my vocabulary.
Oh, awesome. Looking forward to it. Let's do it.
Okay. Okay. Now, I see that that's great. Like, you're into all kinds of different things. That's good. Like, motivation is so key. Motivation, variety. And for you, of course, like, French is not totally foreign because you have English and you have Spanish.
Right.
For me in Arabic, and Turkish and Persian, I have to spend, Greek even. I spend a lot of time on the mini stories because it's just hopelessly difficult for me to go into something different. And there isn't the same variety of stuff out there. So, people shouldn't second guess themselves. If you're motivated to go after this great variety of content, that's what you should do. The whole idea is to have fun with the language. If you're positive, like I have a positive attitude, and you enjoy what you're doing, you will learn. It's that simple. So you can open, if you don't have to do the mini stories if you don't want, you can open up whatever you want here. I want to show you sort of some issues around reviewing vocabulary.
Okay, so we'll go to a lesson. So yeah, I was checking out some music videos and like reading Wikipedia pages of the artists who made them.
Oh yeah, so that's good.
I just get so curious about who these people are. So let's see. Let's hop into this one. And then are we going to want the audio too?
Well, we can, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, we can hear the text. We'll see. Let's wait. Okay. Pick anyone. It doesn't matter.
There's a lot of links in this one.
Okay. So I'm just going to move this a little bit out of the way here. So right now you have 51 saved. You can see if you move your cursor up to the top right-hand corner there, you have 51 saved links, right? Now, but let's go down to the bottom of the page, the right-hand corner. And of course, the first thing, and which I do at an early stage in any language, is I'll review the individual links from that page. So if you click on that arrow, we go straight into flashcards. And it'll flashcard all of the words or phrases in that lesson. And you'll have to go through them all. So however many there are, that's how many you're going to have to go through.
Right.
So,
yeah. And this page is great too. I don't know how familiar people are, but you can customize this as well.
Right.
So if there's, it's quite customizable. I recommend people check it out.
Right. Well, we could show them that. Go up to the settings.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move this again. It's set on the reader settings here, but I can go into review settings, and then if there are certain types of flashcards that people like more than others, or like don't want to see one or a few of them, then you can uncheck them here.
And cards per session.
Right. Yeah. So I haven't changed this. I think it's a pretty good idea to get as much variety as possible, but there might be one or a couple that people don't like. And then we can mess with all of this.
I put the translation on the front of them. I see them. Well, I can't remember. It doesn't matter what you do. It's just exposure. So you can experiment with different approaches. Okay. And the cards per session, I find 10 is, but if you're only doing the words or phrases on a particular lesson, page probably won't be many more than 10 in most cases.
Right. That's very true.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this page also has really great, just like everything with LingQ, great keyboard shortcuts too. So I can do all of this on my keyboard. I'm just going to hit enter, move through it.
Okay.
Should I keep going?
No. So you can go through them all there. So now let's go back to the lesson page. Click X, we're on the lesson page now. So I will not normally do that, especially if it's early in a language. Now, the next thing I see so the other thing you can do is if you click on lessons at the top there, and that'll take you to the vocabulary, now you can go to vocabulary. So now you got all your vocabulary, which, as you say, is a lot, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to, you can search for different things. So if you click on starts with, so you can look for a word that begins with something, ends with something, contains something, a phrase containing a word, or a translation, or whatever. So you can search for different things. Okay. We needn't do that, but I mean, like for example, if you say starts with, let's say starts with en, that's going to pull up a lot, right?
Most likely, yeah.
So click. Okay, you got lots. So that's one thing you can do. Now let's get rid of that, or it'll limit our next search. So if we go to more actions. No, so more actions. What can we do there? Let's click on more actions. What can we do with more actions? Well, so we can change the status. We can do all kinds of stuff there. Export as an ANCHI file, all those things.
And so you can check the boxes here. So usually you would do that before more actions.
If you go to filters, click on filters. So you can now search based on your tags. You can, no, but you could. You don't have that many tags, but you could, like whatever. You could search for like if you had the subjunctive or whatever. You can also search for just your known words or just your new words or whatever, right? You can also, if you look at course, you can look for only the words from a given course. So French LingQ is she, or LingQ mini stories or whatever, or just a particular lesson. All right. So
I've not
And
done
so
that.
you can do that. So then you get the lesson part 10. So now you've got the vocabulary from that, and you can review it. So, you're saying you got, thousands and thousands of words, but if you wanted to focus in on a particular lesson, and again, it gives you a variety of things that you can do. Again, we talked about the importance of variety. So you can go at your vocabulary in different ways. Because if you're just going through a list, eventually the brain just goes numb.
Yeah. It's like it's trying to do, it's like when you're doing flashcards or lists, you're basically asking your brain to do something different. You're saying, hey, remember this?
Right.
One isolated word, and your brain will start to do that. But then
I'm with you. It's like these comprehension questions, trying to remember what happened in the story. All the brain really wants is exposure to the language. It doesn't want to be challenged or asked to remember stuff, in my experience. Now, teachers might say something different. Now, let's go back to my lessons.
Okay.
So, and pick a lesson, doesn't matter. Number 30 is fine. All I want to sort of cover here is that vocabulary review is another activity that you can do that introduces variety. It's another way of exposing yourself to the language. So if we look at where it says review links 51 at the top right-hand corner, we click on that. So we can go through all of those in flashcards if we want, or click on where it says view all links on the left-hand side. So here you have a list of all these words, the 51 words that so far you've saved in this course. And you could go through, if you click on any one of them, you'll hear it and you'll see, the card opens up, right?
Yeah, this is awesome.
Okay, now, but what I like to, so that's one way of doing it. So you don't see, and of course you can export it to Anki there if you want. But if you go to manage, go to the top, it says manage. So here you get them. And I don't mind, I like doing this actually. I like seeing everything in front of me. So it's a quick review. So you now have this list of all those 51 words. And you can also, if you want, first of all, it's a great place to update, the status of words. You can see them very quickly. If you click on them, you hear it in text to speech. You can search for, you can use your tags here if you want. But it's focused in on just the 51 words and phrases that you have saved in this lesson. So that's just another way to access your vocabulary. In other words, you can go to the vocabulary page, or you can find the vocabulary from this course through that process. In other words, going to the, if you go back on this, just to remind people how we got here, and back one more. So we went to review links at the top. That opened up. We said we don't want to go through flashcards today because it takes too long. We'll view all links. And then we can either look at them there or manage them. So we're
lots of options.
So I think we're going to stop it there. Unfortunately, we didn't have a chance to walk through one of your lessons and speak in French. But I just thought it was useful because we often get questions about how to review vocabulary and how much time to spend there.
Right.
And I think it's important to have fun with it, to do it when you feel like it, to not feel any obligation to do it. We don't know at least I don't know what causes words to stick. So you just do a variety of things. If you keep enjoying the language and enjoy what you're doing, the vocabulary is going to stick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to read more. You want to do review vocabulary, do it. Do whatever keeps you involved with the language.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, even though I have maybe more links than some people might compared to how many known words I have, I'm really enjoying learning, and I'm feeling like I'm understanding more and more. And especially with French, I think it's sometimes a more tough one to understand it when it's spoken by native speakers. So yeah, even though I'm might not be hitting all my stats, I'm definitely enjoying it. And that's more than I can say for any other platform that I've used too. I eventually get bored with things and fall off because it's hard.
I mean, enjoyment is the key. And I think you're going at it exactly how I do. If we compared notes in terms of saved links versus known words in, say, Arabic for me, French for you, probably would be quite similar because we're just attacking all this content and we got all these saved links and we don't even worry about them. We just throw them somewhere. They'll come back. They'll come back.
Yeah.
So,
think of how kids learn.
Okay.
That's all we're doing.
Exactly. Okay, well, we didn't speak much French. Maybe next time we'll speak French.
À la prochaine.
Bon, à la prochaine. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Monsieur Steve.